Appreciate you having me here today. If you don't like what I have to say, my parents are right there. They raised me, I'm a product of them, so tough to be in their position today. Do what you love. This is great advice for making $30,000 a year. From the Goldman Sachs elevator Twitter. There's always a little truth in humor. It's not to say that you can't make money and do what you love at the same time, but a lot of people rush major life decisions and lock themselves in the path without enough consideration for one, what will fulfill them, two, what they're actually good at, and three, the expense of life. Life is expensive, and if you find a job that you like and can support yourself at the same time, you'll be one of the lucky few. I consider myself very lucky in that regard, and I'd like to share some of my experiences and life lessons with you today. Almost 25 years ago, I sat where you are, in those uncomfortable wooden pews, constantly shifting back and forth, bored out of my mind, listening to some old man telling me that in hindsight, I probably should have listened to it. But I did have a few memorable speakers during my time in Darlington. Tom Cousins of the Great Cousins Property Empire, who gifted each member of my graduating class a share of stock, which yielded a quarterly dividend check of exactly 15 cents, and received my parents' address for the next decade. You guys get that too? Seriously, checks for 15 cents. Now, in hindsight, think about it, it was kind of maybe a bit of that control on his part. And S. Truett Cathy, the famous founder of Chick-fil-A, who told us, "See students rule the world," and left us with a few thousand gift coupons and gas from our teachers. I graduated from Vanderbilt with a degree in computer science, a tiny bit late from my expected spring of 1999 date to August of 1999. Unfortunately, though, I had no job. I had previously started my first company with some coworkers I met during an internship one summer, but had to step down and finish school. Given the direction the company eventually took, I wasn't qualified to work there after graduation. I knew that I eventually wanted to start another company and be CEO, but I also knew I didn't have the skills, so I hit the pavement in Atlanta looking for my first real job. Given my short stint as a startup co-founder and my degree, my options were limited to entry-level program jobs. A great option for many, but I wanted a larger scope that actually impacted business decisions. The problem was, I didn't know exactly what that meant. What was I supposed to say? "Hi, my name's Will Harbin. I have no experience. I'd like to be CEO. I can work in your business department." So I had settled on a web engineering job in the marketing department of Internet Security Systems, a successful, large pioneer in the security space in Atlanta. A great company, but I picked an absolutely terrible job. The work was meaningless. My boss hardly noticed me and didn't care about my future or potential. The market crashed in 2001, mass layoffs everywhere, and I was stuck. I was completely miserable, but I constantly asked for more responsibility, and after a few years of nagging, I got a fake promotion. I remember sitting at my favorite sushi restaurant in Atlanta on my 25th birthday, staring at a dish of shrimp and sea urchin tartare and wanted to throw up. Not because the sea urchin was actually really good. For a brief moment, I thought my career was over before it had begun. A lot of my friends were going to law school or business school. Some had coveted Wall Street analyst jobs or fancy management consulting jobs at great firms like McKinsey. I was a failed entrepreneur and a lowly web developer. At the tender age of 25, my life was over. Oh, and did I mention that I also got married? Turned out we didn't like each other very much. Shortly after my 25th birthday from Hal, I planned how to climb out of my world of mediocrity. Knowing that I wanted to develop and run my own successful technology company, I plotted a path from where I currently stood as CEO entrepreneur. I like building things, but didn't enjoy the actual engineering work anymore. So through research and numerous discussions, I decided on product management as a path forward. I needed to somehow transition my purely technical role to a coveted product management job. Product management would give me a higher level view on how organizations are run and provide insight into every job function involved in designing, building, shipping, and selling a product on a mass scale. I put some serious spin on my work at Lies, at ISS, and shot my resume at every platform that company I could find. I networked with every source I could, leveraged every friend and family connection I had, and as a hedge, I started studying for the GMAT. made a deal with myself. If I scored a product manager job, I'd skip business school. The thought of more school was so terrifying that somehow I managed to get an interview for lead product manager for the Netscape browser. Since none of you likely know what that is, it was a big deal. Today you use Firefox, Safari, Chrome, etc., but Netscape was the first web browser. Prior to Netscape, the internet was an unusable mess. I made it my mission in life to get that job. I researched and stalked every interviewer ahead of time and had a game plan for each discussion. Every permutation was scripted in my head. After a lot of convincing, they offered me the job, but there was a catch. The job was in Columbus, Ohio. It was a big reason why I was offered the job. The established product managers in Silicon Valley turned their noses up at the move. I was willing to do whatever it took and travel to the depths of the cold, dark Midwest. So I packed the cars and dragged my lovely first wife to the Buckeye State when my career took off. It was my dream come true at the time. I was thrown in the role where the weight of the internet world rested on my shoulders and I was drinking from the fire hose. I was in charge of engineering, quality assurance, and design. I was recognized by the executives, wrote multiple patents based on my ideas, and was even appointed to a W3C committee, the Worldwide Web Consortium. They decided on how the global internet is run. This happened because I leveraged every relationship that was relevant, selected a specific job that strategically fit my career plan, and worked hard, but also because I took a risk. I could not have known beforehand that my skill set would match what's required for a job I had never done before, but fortunately it did. This is one of the few key lessons today I hope to leave with you. You have to leave your comfort zone and take risks. Venture into the unknown and seek challenges where you cannot always predict if you will be successful. You will find many successful people have done the same thing over and over again. My boss at Netscape was Jeremy Liu, who eventually became one of the more prolific venture capitalists in Silicon Valley, Snapchat being one of his claims to fame. After AOL, the at-the-time parent company of Netscape, decided that we were cannibalizing the core business, so we got shut down. I followed Jeremy to San Francisco, where I took a job at Yahoo. My plan was to network and get the lay of the land. And after a year, I tried to raise money from the thriving venture capital community and start a company. Fortunately, after only a month in Silicon Valley, Jeremy helped me meet my co-founder, Chris Michael, a youngish but already seasoned founder who was hot off selling military.com. We teamed up and created Affinity Labs, which we sold 1 year later for $60 million to Monster Worldwide. They stayed on at Monster for a bit and started to plot what I wanted to do next. I always had a love of video games, so I started to think about how to start a video game company. Small barrier. My startup experience had taken a bit of a toll on my already fragile marriage. She wasn't on board with me starting another company, so I decided I had to say goodbye to my first wife, her dog, most of my possessions, and one very big check later, I was pursuing my wildest fantasy. Creating a video game company. Divorce, although painful, can be another life experience to learn from your mistakes. Do you know why divorce is so expensive? But the front row does. It's worth it. The rest of you will get that in about 15 years. We're just getting warmed up. Take major life decisions very carefully. You have a long life ahead of you, even though right now it doesn't seem that way. I was too hasty when picking my first job, and I was definitely too hasty picking my long-term mate. If you were like me, type A, and you want to check things off the box, take a step back, explore life, and don't make decisions that limit your options. It's perhaps not a bad rule of thumb to not think about marriage until a little later in life. There isn't a magic number, but the answer is often not in your early 20s if you have big dreams. Your tastes will change, they will change, you will change. Many of you don't know who you are now, and you likely won't have a much better idea of who you are and your potential when you're 25. There's a big world out there. Get out and make something of it. Don't rush to buy a house either. It can be a liability and an asset. Remain flexible. Focus on improving yourself and learning yourself and work on building your tool set. A little more than 10 years ago, I met up with two talented guys from London who had a struggling video game company, but it lacked prudent direction in the business model. This was my opportunity. We joined forces and created Kicksci in November of 2009. We were funded by none other than Jeremy Liu. Relationships matter. With focus on harnessing our collective energy, our collective creative energy, we put ourselves on the map with our first step back at Monsters. If you aren't familiar with our first game, it was copied hundreds of times over, famously by Clash of Clans. While we didn't achieve the same success as Clash of Clans, we did pretty well. We scaled hundreds of people across the globe, generated more than $1 billion in revenue, even hired some of my childhood heroes that made some of my favorite games. We had some ups and downs, and recently we decided to sell a portion of the company for $120 million and take the rest of Kickside in a new direction. Present day. I've had and am currently having a fortunate career. I spent the last 15 years in Silicon Valley building 2 successful companies, sold them, and now have the flexibility and freedom to come home and set up a new company in Atlanta where I wanted to raise my family. Looking back, my career could have easily gone in a different direction. I was potentially stuck in a dead-end job 5 years after graduating college. And if I hadn't decided to pick up and move and take a chance at a career-changing opportunity, I'd probably be a mid-level employee of a large, boring company in some suburb living paycheck to paycheck. It's not the life I dreamed of. I thought a lot about what I'd want to say to the 18-year-old me when it came to career and life to help my future self out. On one hand, the mystery and discovery as you go through various life stages is an important part of the process. On the other, it would have been great if certain adults had shared some brutal truths with me. When I was in high school and college, I remember constantly hearing how fortunate I was to be attending Darlington, and then later Vanderbilt, and how lucky I was for this and that. Many are told the same thing in a lot of different places. Look, it's good to build confidence, and your parents and teachers should help you with that. But hearing this over and over again, which you will as you go through various stages, can create a false sense of security. If we were all so fortunate, why isn't everyone in my class successful? Why did so-and-so go to jail? Why is he valeting cars? And why is she waiting tables? For every CEO from Harvard, there is someone struggling from their graduating class. There will be a time in your future where your safety net is removed and cost of failure could be harsh. Unfortunately, this isn't a gentle transition. It is stark, night and day. Everyone is currently shuttled along the same path in school, but the spread of outcomes will get more and more extreme as time goes on. It's hard to see that in school right now when you see the same faces in the same places for most of your life. It's rare for you to see someone fall on hard times at this point in your life and in this environment. Point is, start getting comfortable with this. You don't know what you don't know. You might be a special snowflake, but you're a snowflake in a blizzard. Why isn't the valedictorian a billionaire? The author of Barking Up the Wrong Tree, the surprising science behind why everything you know about success is mostly wrong. It's a real page turner. It's on my nightstand right now. Did a lengthy study in high school valedictorians, and I quote, "Nearly 90% are now in professional careers with 40% in the highest tier jobs." Pretty good. They're reliable, consistent, and well-adjusted, and by all measures, the majority have good lives. But how many of these #1 high school performers go on to change the world, run the world, or oppress the world? The answer is 0. So valedictorians certainly are hurting, but the top spot in class rank does not yield the top spot in other areas necessarily. Success in school is predicted for one thing: success in more school. School does, however, give you an important set of tools helpful for real-world success, including but not limited to communication, deductive reasoning, and other pretty critical things that can absolutely be useful, but it's an incomplete step. You're going to have to structure your own path and hold yourself accountable in the future. Instead of a bad grade or getting chewed out by your parents, failure might result in losing a job, bouncing a check, losing your car, home, etc. Potentially serious problems. On the flip side, just doing the predictable, safe thing at all times isn't necessarily rewarded either. A lot is going to rely on your own self-discovery, but know this: conformity is not rewarded with wealth. At the Wharton School, one of the top business schools, there's a saying: the top third of the class works for managers from the middle third of the class at companies started by the bottom third of the class. Remember Truett Cathy? You might have known something. Top third, individual achievers, contributors with proven excellence in defined areas. Middle third, socially adjusted individuals who traded top grades to invest in relationship building, social capital via work-life balance. Bottom third, treated school as a time to work on their startup idea, iterated by bouncing off smart people and professors, source talent when they raise cash, totally comfortable quitting school if the idea is funded and takes off. That doesn't apply to high school, by the way. wait a few years. Everyone has different aspirations. The majority of my advice is primarily tailored to those of you who want to pursue some form of business and entrepreneurship. There are certain professional paths where my advice is completely irrelevant. But for those of you who desire to walk my path, you're facing some challenges. Number one, you don't know what you don't know. Your life has mostly been on rails at this point, and will be until you finish your academic career. It's straightforward. Do this and make this grade, proceed to the next level, repeat. You know what is ahead of you in school, and is currently defining success for you. That changes in an instant when you take that last exam. All of a sudden, there's no clear path ahead of you, and it's very possible to get stuck doing the exact same thing at the exact same place for the rest of your life. I've hired well over 1,000 people in my career, and I made a point to have interviews with most of them foster relationships with the rising young stars. I can't tell you how many people 2 years out of school have come to my office or one of my managers and have a freak out moment when they realize that their professional life wasn't going to follow the methodical growth of their academic life. I had the same quarter-life crisis, but I didn't take action as soon as I should have. Nobody owes you a promotion. Nobody's looking out for you except for you. If you haven't been promoted and don't feel like you were learning, quit and find another job after 2 years on the job. The hardest part of adulthood and career initially is structuring specific goals out of seemingly infinite possibilities for yourself. It's not neatly laid out on a piece of paper like it is now. You need to personally define what success means for you and plot your own path towards it. Number two, the majority of you are relatively comfortable from a socioeconomic demographic standpoint. Plenty of food on the table, private education paid for, your parents probably have a nice house, etc. But once you enter the workforce, you will realize that your past lifestyle is actually incredibly expensive and likely taken for granted. One or more of your parents may be financially stressed. The affordability index in the United States is at an all-time high. Something as basic as homeownership is too expensive for most. The majority of attainable jobs will not support a lifestyle to send your kids to Darlington. Money doesn't buy happiness, but the lack of money can cause a lot of misery. My definition of success might sound relatively modest. Not waking up in the middle of the night stressing about bills. That's now actually a pretty high bar. So, plan accordingly. People always told me to follow my passion and then the money will follow. Well, that might have worked out for me eventually, but it didn't work out for Sally Vandelay, the medieval studies PhD, who's now a part-time executive assistant, barely making ends meet with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt and student loans. For those of you not in this demographic, on scholarship, etc., you actually have an advantage. A large portion of my ultra-successful friends come from very modest backgrounds. One specifically enjoys flying to his hometown in Arkansas from San Francisco on his private jet for Christmas, and always makes time to drive by the double wide where he grew up. He and others like him understand the value of the dollar and never took anything for granted. They used everything they possibly could to their advantage. They learned to spot an opportunity, never passed on it, cherished and nurtured every valuable relationship. Resources are precious. Number three, while you're in financially comfortable families, you are not likely among the elite and the ultra-wealthy. There's a meme circulating, big fan of memes. These 7 secrets of highly successful people. Number 1, private school. Number 2, legacy Ivy admission. Number 3, nepotism hire. Number 4, seed capital from family. Number 5, club memberships. Number 6, personal assistant, nanny, and ghostwriter. Number 7, journalists who ask, what's your secret? And uncritically publish the answer. There's a lot of truth to that. In the circles I've now been exposed to, there's a pipeline where going from elite private school to Harvard to mega private equity fund, or something similar. It can be a predictable, straightforward process. Darlington is a great school, but there are some high schools that send 30% plus of their graduates to the Ivies. You're going to have to work a little harder than them if you want to follow that path. The good news for you is many of the kids in this pipeline fail or are miserable. It's not a lot of fun or rewarding to not have to work for anything. This is a discussion I've had with many of my successful friends in Silicon Valley on how to raise kids among extreme wealth. None of us were created in that kind of environment. We all had struggles and failures. Face your failures, learn from them, and learn to enjoy building your own path. But that does not mean don't take help from others. Don't turn down help. Relationships, unless it's from a Russian oligarch, but relationships are one of the core keys to success. Struggle is important, but in your new world focused on safety over freedom, it seems that this concept is lost on many. Now, what motivates you and not your parents? Generally, we are told to pick one: power, prestige, or wealth. Depending on your lifestyle taste, you might need to get a little more consideration to wealth. If you don't care about having a nice house, cars, private education, etc., you'll have more flexibility, but the Instagram accounts you follow have probably killed the idea of you living like a monk in the woods. So, be realistic about your lifestyle needs. However, I urge you not to chase prestige or prestige alone. The desire for prestige is why, one, we spend outrageous sums of money on education you might not need. By the way, this is a topic alone we could spend an hour on. Don't go into debt in the future on mediocre education. 2, kill ourselves at jobs we don't like. 3, put up with colleagues and bosses we despise. 4, and never pursue our real dreams. Instead, find purpose. Find the intersection of what interests you, what you are good at, and what makes enough money to support the lifestyle you desire. Plot that path, set milestones, and execute. Some specific summary advice for those of you who want to build products and start your own product-related companies. In economic theory, a zero-sum game is a representation of a situation where each participant's loss or gain is exactly balanced by the losses and gains of other participants. The total sum of all gains and losses is exactly 0. So if one person wins, another has to lose. Contrary to what many feel-good Pollyannas will tell you, life is often a zero-sum game. Success is also a zero-sum. I didn't necessarily subscribe to this until a little company called Supercell copied our game Backyard Monsters and put Clash of Clans on mobile first. It was then impossible for us to make Backyard Monsters successful on mobile. We had to pursue other avenues. It was a $10 billion mistake. Hone an important, useful skill: sales, coding, product design, analytics, something specific that can actually help the kind of company that you want to work for or create. Refine your skills faster than your peers. Don't spend an inordinate amount of time on social media. Research. Use your time wisely. Don't watch too much reality TV. Work at a startup. Skip the big company. I've done both. You don't learn as much in the amount of time that you can in a startup versus a big company, or other way around. Once you're noticed by the CEO or another executive, take on every product they give you. Be eager, be driven. Don't get involved in office politics, and don't be negative. Get as much equity, which means stock or ownership, as you can, and work towards that. Much of business isn't particularly intellectually challenging. You don't have to be a genius to be successful, but you do have to have drive and tenacity. A great idea is probably only worth 5%, 10% max. The rest is your capability to execute. Your ability to manage stress and your own psychology is critical. I've seen a number of other entrepreneurs just give up because they couldn't take the pressure. From a psychological perspective, it's a similar circumstance from what drives people to quit during Navy SEAL BUD/S training or Army Special Forces selection. Almost all of those candidates have the physical and athletic capabilities to complete the training, but for some reason, they just quit. It's the same phenomenon in business. You'll have to deal with constant internal struggle. If you can figure out how to do that, you'll be rewarded. Former Navy SEAL Matt Bissonette, member of the team that killed bin Laden, talks about the 3-foot world. In his book, No Hero, it refers to focusing on what you can control in your immediate vicinity. During times of stress, pressure, or worry, focus on what you can control in the moment and ignore everything else. If you constantly shoulder and realize, if you constantly progress in that 3-foot world, after a while, you look over your shoulder and realize just how far you've come. Focus on the intersection of the things that matter and the things that you can control. Good news. There's never been a better time for you to be prosperous. You have a lot of resources at your disposal. Thank you all for listening, and best of luck.